Well, or that was the foxhole one.
That was the foxhole one.
All right. Hello out there to everybody. Today is January 19th. January 19th. The year is 2021. I remember the year.
Echo.
Thank you. Now, the echo is gone.
I thought 2021 was supposed to be better than 2020.
It will be, believe me. Okay, back on the rails here. You're watching Amateur Radio Roundtable. I'm Tom Medlin, W5KUB, and this show's about ham radio, amateur radio. And if you're listening out there on international shortwave on WBCQ on 7490, it's Thursday for you. But anyway, this show's all about ham radio, so stick around and join us. And, you know, if you want to join us live some night, we're on every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Central Time. And just go to YouTube and put in W5KUB, and you can join us there. You can watch the show. You can join us in the chat room. Got a great show tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. The whole gang is here. We're going to give away an antenna tonight. We're going to give away another HF antenna on our 8-week spree of antenna every week. And Katie even has a special prize we might give out tonight. We'll check that too. So we've moved to YouTube to try to get a little bit more branding on our channel. Our show now is 6 years old, and I think we've done real well to keep it going every week for 6 years. But we need you to hit the subscribe button. So on YouTube there, if you'll please hit the subscribe button, that will help us tremendously. And also hit the like button. The more likes we get, YouTube then ranks us higher, and they will advertise our show in more places for people to click on and come over and see us. So it's important to do a subscribe, and it's important to hit the like button. The 40-meter net tonight, the band was kind of weird. We had maybe 10, 12 check-ins, but we have a 40-meter net every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Central. That'd be 23:30 UTC on Tuesdays on 7180. So join us on our net if you can. And we've got a person that's volunteered to start calling a DMR net for our show. You know, we have our own DMR talk group, 31693, and he's getting geared up to start a roundtable net on DMR to help us. All right. I just wondered, is there anybody new here tonight? If you're new and haven't been to the show before, please let us know in the chat room. I'd like to see, you know, if we have any new people in here tonight. That would be great. And I'm also interested, is there anybody watching the show that's in the Memphis area? Memphis, Germantown, Collierville, Cordova. Anybody in the area here watching the show? I'd like to know. You know, the show is seen in about 150 countries, and we've got viewers everywhere. But I can go to a field day here in Memphis, and 8 out of 10 people have never heard of the show. So it'd just be interesting to see if anybody here locally is watching the show tonight. Hey, let's go out and let's talk to our co-host and guest tonight and see what's going on there. So it looks like Glenn is the first one up. How you doing, Glenn?
Oh, I'm doing real good. You know, just doing the editing on the book right now, getting it ready to get to print. Looks like it's on target for the Dayton Ham Fest. That's not going to happen. But it will probably be out sometime in the spring, and it's looking real good. My editor likes it, so I guess it's okay.
Well, that'll be good when it gets published, and you can start on your next one.
Yeah, I'm actually got stuff going on the workbench for the next one right now already.
All right. Well, let's see who's next here. Who else we got here with us tonight? Katie, are you there, Katie? Katie, say something.
Hello, everyone. I was just
There
saying
she
hello
is.
to Charles, who is a first-timer here, and I just lost his call
Charles
sign.
is a first-timer.
Yay!
Great.
Welcome,
Hey,
Charles.
Charles,
Oh, here he
welcome.
is. Whiskey 1, Charlie Radio Bravo. That's almost like my old call sign.
Yeah.
I just had to look at my old call sign to make sure that wasn't mine.
I-
So hello from Wyoming, everybody. Glad to see you all here this week. Thanks for all the first-timers that are joining in. And Dwayne's on 160 meters on FT8 right now, if anybody's looking for a QSO. And very excited. We have our first ham club for the Northeast Wyoming, for Crook County, that's coming up this Thursday. We've mailed physical letters to about 55 people here in our county, letting them know that we wanted to get a club going, and we're going to do our first virtual meeting. We got a bunch that were returned, so obviously some folks have moved out of the area, but we got about 15 people that are going to be on our Zoom call on Thursday. And we've gotten some really nice emails from people saying, oh, it's just the right timing because they just got a radio they can't figure out, or they've got an antenna project coming out. They're going to need some help. And so I think we're going to build up some really good camaraderie and some activities here in Crook County. So Dwayne and I are really excited about that. And I'll report on that next week, how our first gathering went.
Okay, well, great. I'm glad your ham club. Glad your ham club is doing good. Getting it started up there.
I hope so. Yeah, we're excited about it. We've been talking about it for quite a while now, so we're finally making it happen. So yay.
Are y'all going to make it like a traditional ham club, or are you going to have like a king and a queen, and you know?
Well, I am obviously going to be the queen, so
Yeah, okay.
I mean, unless somebody really comes along and pays for a good price, but you know.
That's right. Well, you get to be queen because you started it, right?
Yeah, but I think I'd like to try, our thoughts are originally try to keep it really simple to begin with. I don't want to worry about like club rules and bylaws and cheer people on budgets and all that stuff. Let's just get some people together, talk ham radio, help them figure out how to get on the radio, maybe build some antennas, and just get people interested and get them on the air. That's, we can worry about the other stuff later, like, actually creating some club structure. But for now, if we can get people that are interested and want to get involved in ham radio here in Crook County, then we're going to make it as easy as we can to do that. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, don't forget, charge them dues like $10 a month.
That's a bit hefty. You don't even pay me that much for being on the show.
Yeah, I know. Well, your salary is classified.
I know. Yeah, I'm sure eventually we'll have like a real club structure and club dues so that we can pay for certain things. But right now, we're such a small area. But I think the fact that we're such a small county, we've got 15 people that want to show up and participate is a really good start. So I think that's a really good return on a mailing. So we'll see how it goes. And like I said, we've been talking about it for quite a while. So finally, putting our money where our mouth is, or at least putting our stamps where our mouth is, and getting something going. So
hey, we'll make some time tonight, but you want to give away a little gift, and it's going to be a personalized. Will you autograph it?
I will autograph it.
All right. Is Dwayne going to, or are you going to keep it just you?
Well, if anybody wants him to, but.
Yeah, I doubt anybody's going to want him to autograph it. Okay.
I don't think anybody's going to want this. We found while cleaning the shack, I have a brand new, unused 2015 ARRL calendar, free for you, and I'll autograph it.
Oh, that's a 2015. I didn't realize it. That is a collector's item.
That was from last century.
That's why everybody in the chat room was laughing. They're like, wait a minute, I got to go check my Wait, what?
That would be a collector's, Hey, let's jump over Alan. How you doing, Alan? Up there in New Jersey.
Hey, hello. This is Alan W2AEW. Good to see everybody from New Jersey. I just wanted to start off by saying I wanted to appreciate. I got some really nice emails and stuff after last week's tribute to my friend who passed away last week. So I certainly appreciate that from everybody. And I'm excited to hear our special guest tonight. It sounds like some interesting stories. Looking forward to that. And then I've got a nice back to basics electronics tech tip for you later on. So stick around for that.
That'd be good. I need that. I need that. And you know what, Alan? It would be nice if maybe next week you could have how to build a 100 milliwatt 20-meter transmitter, because I have spent 100 hours on it. And it's
power
kicking me,
amplifier.
man. It's kicking me.
Yeah, well, it's all. I mean, I know there's especially for your application, it's got to be small, lightweight, low power.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the thing I used to tell my managers when I had a real job and I was a design engineer. I used to tell them you can have it good, you can have it fast, you can have it cheap. Pick any two.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the other one never fits with those other two. So just figure that out. Good, fast, or cheap. You only get two out of those three. So I don't know. We'll talk about that.
Well, and just very quickly, there's a couple things that have to go into designing. One is the design. You got to make it right because of temperatures and everything. The next thing is you got to have good luck, and then the third thing you got to have is a miracle. And then you put all those three things together, and it's going to work fine here.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's
real
jump
quick, just
down.
want to answer a quick question I saw in the chat, Mark. Yeah, that all the way over there on, let's see, this side over here. Yeah, that is a curve tracer. Yep.
All right. Let's jump down real quick to Roly down in he's in New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand. How you doing, Roly?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Good afternoon, actually, from New Zealand. We're early afternoon, Wednesday, of course. You're still Tuesday, huh?
Yeah,
So,
you're in the future, man. You are in the future.
Yeah, we're in the future. Yeah. And
well, we're looking forward.
As I said to Katie earlier on, the offer is there. If you really want to know the lotto numbers and so on, just give me a yell. I got a PayPal account. You can put some money into, and we'll split the profits.
Well, and that's exactly right, because you are in the future. If we need to know anything quick, we're just going to contact you. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Good afternoon to you, anyway, and good afternoon to all your listeners and viewers and so on. It's great to be with you. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, let's just jump right in the show, because we got a lot of things going on. And Katie, you're going to show some shack pictures, I think, aren't you? We got a few shack pictures. I've got them loaded here, and you can talk about them.
Thank you for reminding me. Let me pull up my notes here.
Yeah. Let's see if Katie can pull up her notes and get this thing right here.
All right, I got. Oh,
now, did you get the revised or the first one?
I have the one that you sent most recently.
You need the one that was after that says revised.
You sent me one 6 hours ago that says here's a shack pick lineup.
Yeah, and then there's
another. All right, hold on. Let me go back.
You must have a lot of mail.
I have 18,358 emails in my Gmail account that haven't been read.
Okay. All right.
Whoa!
I know, I'm terrible.
All right.
Remind me never to send you an email.
Yeah.
God, I die in the inbox.
All right. All right, Katie, you found it yet?
I had it. Hold on. Now I got to reopen it. Oh, wait a minute. There it is.
Glenn, the chat room.
Okay, got it.
Glenn, here's some information for you. How does the amateur operator find a girlfriend? He uses a curve tracer.
Absolutely.
That's right.
All
right. All right, Katie, are you?
All right, let's go.
Are you ready, Katie? All right. Now, if Katie gets these out of order, it's probably my fault. But here we go. Well, we're going to try it.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, that's not right. That's me.
I was going to say, that looks like your place.
Balloon launcher. What is that?
You're welcome to the Shack of Tom, W5KUB.
Yeah, okay. Well, that wrong button. I'm sorry. Here we go.
All right. This is Richard Arnold, and he is Kilo Bravo for Radio Mike Alpha. And this is actually the county trailer for the Emergency Management Association in Jackson County, Alabama. So they have, that looks like a nice big one, bigger than what we've got.
Yeah.
They've got 5 Motorola analog and digital radios. There's a Marine radio, a couple of ICOM dual band radios, and an ICOM HF. And all in addition, they've got the ACU 1000 interoperability, that's all mouthful, interoperability radio system, which in and of itself has 6 Motorola VHFs, 5 UHFs, 1 VHF, low band, and an HF radio. So out on the roof, do we have pictures of the roof?
The roof.
He's got 8 antennas out there, along with a cradle point system for uninterrupted and all carrier service. Yeah, we can see a little bit of it there. And they've also got 2 7-kilowatt generators and roof-mounted solar power. So they've obviously, Alabama is one of the states that definitely is a regular group that utilizes their emergency management trailers and communications for storms.
It looks good. It looks really good.
We got a lot of tornadoes and ice storms over there.
Right. Yeah. So that's great. Well, thank you for sending that in, Richard. That's really nice it's always nice to see what you're doing in the community besides just, here in your own shack too. And that's terrific. So thank you so much for sending that in. So now we're moving along to November Bravo 6 Ocean, who is David, and he is in West Point, Kentucky, near Fort Knox. And let's see, on his shack there, he has got he's got two Kenwoods the TS 820S, and he's using the TS 530S for HF, running 100 watts into the 6B TV vertical. Those are nice antennas. I know which one. We used one of those on a field day one year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got a 5B TV that I use.
Yeah. He's also got, for 2 meters, he's using the FD2980. And he's got a J-pole for that. He says he's been licensed since 1978, but he's been inactive for 38 years. But he says seeing everything on Facebook and lots of people posting really got his interest rekindled. And so he's gotten all this new stuff since last year. So he really has just taken the dive right in. So welcome back to Ham Radio, David. Hopefully get you in the log soon. So that's awesome. I always love hearing about people that maybe were, it happens a lot with folks. They, get a job, they get a family, and, the hobbies like ham radio don't get as much attention. And then they get rid of the kids off on their own and retire from jobs. And they're like, all right, need something else to do. So I'm going to go back to ham radio.
Well, look, hey, this next set of pictures, I'm sure this guy doesn't have a girlfriend, but I'll let you talk about it.
Oh, Lord. We're going to be on that all night, aren't we?
I don't know, man. You tell me when it's over what you think. Go ahead, Katie.
All right. Well, that looks more like a showroom to me.
Yeah.
That's do we have Jimmy's call sign here? Yeah. Oh yeah, November 5, November, Sierra, November. Jimmy Hilt, and Jimmy is in Five Land. I don't see where he's from. Okay. Well, anyway, so this must be our Heathkit section. He's got an Apache, the Mohawk, Marauder, and another Mohawk. So he's got 2 Mohawks. The Heathkit DX60, HG10, and HR10. And if any of you guys know what those are and can point them out along the pictures, that would be helpful. He's got the Collins S-Line, which is the S3 sets, he says. I'm thinking,
that's on the middle shelf there. The middle shelf is a Collins.
Yep. Then he's got the Morrow Twins.
I don't know what those are.
Yeah.
I don't either. Anybody know what those are?
I haven't seen those or heard of them in years.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's got the HB6 and an HB656, which I'm thinking maybe at the far end of the middle shelf.
Well, the far end of the middle shelf, that's the HG10 and the DX60.
Oh, okay. All right. And then he's got 4-1000 amplifier, which is a homebrew around 1963.
Yeah, I tell you, I wanted to build that in 1963. I just couldn't come up with all the parts at 16 years old. But that is some amplifier, man.
Yeah, he said it was by K9KLA, that's Kilo 9 Kilo Lima Alpha, and it was featured in the July 1963 QST.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
All right, here's
all right, what's the other side of the shack look like?
Here's the other side of the shack.
Good grief, look at that. That must have been around Halloween. That's a couple of skeletons hanging around the ceilings. All right, now we got Jimmy's next picture is he's got the Tentec Omni 7, a Heathkit HW 5400. There's 2 Drakes in there, the TR7s, and also an L7 kilowatt plus amp homebrew tuner and a balanced Pi network. Phew. Okay, and then you can see there's some icons in there. He's got a 765, 756 Pro 2, a 756 Pro 3, and as he says, a few miscellaneous odds and ends.
All right. Now, Katie, here's where you get to use your skills, and Dwayne can help here too. Here's another shot of his shack, and I don't think he supplied any information with these.
That just looks like another shot of. Oh, wait a minute.
I think.
Well, that's his neighbor wearing the hat that stuck his hand on the amplifier on the wall.
That's the wider shot from the previous one.
That's what it looks like.
Is that the same radios?
I think it is. Just a bigger shot with everything.
Yeah, I'm showing more stuff on the left that you didn't
let's see.
We got the same pictures on the wall.
Is that the same?
Oh yeah, it's just further back, so now we're seeing more of his.
Okay. That's what it is. Okay, very good.
Okay.
All right.
And he says outside he's got a vertical. He's got at 58 feet tall. He's got an 80 to 30 meters. Oh, there it is.
There
Perfect.
it is.
Insulated above 60 ground radials.
Wow.
Yeah.
Phooey.
I
And
like this.
these are his homebrew couplers
I like
for the
it.
vertical.
I like it. He spent some time.
Pretty cool.
It's well built.
It is. That's a beautiful station.
Yeah.
I'd be afraid to bring a drink or food in there, though. It's too nice.
So is Jimmy in the chat room? N5NSN. Are any of you guys in the chat room that we're showing your pictures here? Here's the next picture. That kind of shows the base of his tower, insulated.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. All right. All
can't
right.
tell.
Next one.
All right, next we've got. All right, this should be Robin. Yep, Robin. November 0 Papa Whiskey Bravo. I like how he starts there. Grandpa has it going on. He says in his email. Got the Heil. Let me move this over here so I can read to you guys. He's got the Heil PR781 mic that's driving a tube preamp. He says it's rich in harmonics. It's co-driving station number 1, which is a Flex Radio 6300 with a Maestro control head, driving a Tokyo high power 2.5 kilohertz amp. Whew. Station 2 is the Yaesu FTDX 3000, and he's got the Yaesu VL1000 amp with that. And the amps are fed into the Palstar HF antenna auto antenna tuner. Those Palstar tuners are really nice. He's got a 160 meter W5 GI mystery antenna and 160 meter Carolina Windham. And those are mounted on top of a set of 60-foot phone poles in free space rural southeast Kansas. Nice. Cool. Says the antennas are fed using twin 300-foot runs of Times Microwave LMR 600 hardline that are isolated from the antennas using a pair of 5 kilowatt rated 1-to-1 grounded balance. Ooh-wee. Oh, wait, I was wondering if I had a picture of that. He does public service monitoring with a Yaesu VR5000. And he's also got an SWL radio. He says he's just recently upgraded it to a JRC NRD 545. And then for satellite and ISS, VHF, UHF, he is using the Yaesu FT847 for that. And he also says he could do his Flex with his Tokyo high power amp. He can remotely control those over the internet from his Toyota Mobile and an iPhone running hands-free. And that, again, that's Robin and 0 Papa Whiskey Bravo. That is awesome.
And when he goes key down on that amp, the entire
yeah. All right, and our last one is Matt. He is Kilo Charlie 5 Radio India Lima, and he says he's just getting started on putting his shack together, and he is using a JS8 call and FT8 to keep his wife happy while she works in the next room. So see, it's all about balance, Glenn. Remember that. And he says this year he's going to be working on getting better grounding, better wire management. He's going to build himself a new desk and get a couple more antennas in the air. So that's awesome. You know, he says, you know, he felt like it's a humble shack. Well, you know what? You got a shack. You're getting on the air. That's what matters. So thanks for... It's all that matters. Thanks for sending it.
All that matters, you've got a shack and you get on the air. Now, Katie, they kept coming in. I had to cut the pictures off this afternoon. I was busy all day getting the show together.
We'll do some more next week.
Yeah, we can do some more next week. But I did pick one more up. It was a VE.
Put my glasses.
Here's one. Dean, he's got an FT450, ICOM 706 Mark II, and a FT101B there. And he says it might look a little messy, but he says he knows exactly where everything is.
And that's all that matters.
That's right.
That's right.
He's on the air, you know. He's on the air.
That's great. Well, thanks everybody for sending in your pictures, and keep posting them, and we'll share them again. So yay.
All right. Well, thank you, Katie.
You are welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Let's get on to the fun stuff. I want to hear Roly talk.
Yeah.
We're going to get to Roly in just about 2 or 3 minutes. Let's get some house cleaning out of the way here real quick. First, let me just mention again, if you're listening out there on shortwave on WBCQ on 7490, this show is about ham radio, amateur radio, and you can join us live on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time just by going to W5KUB on YouTube, and you'll find us. In just a minute, we're going to give away an antenna. We're going to give away, let's see. That's not Glenn talking, that's me talking. Yeah, okay.
I can talk if you want me to.
Well, you could actually move your lips while I talked, and nobody knows the difference.
My lips while
okay,
you talk,
so
it'll be good.
We're going to give away an antenna. We're giving away an antenna, an HF antenna kit, one every week for 8 weeks, thanks to LDG here. Tonight, we're going to give away a 40-meter dipole. Now, this is a kit. It includes all the wire you need, the center conductor, the end insulators, and also the balun. So it's everything you need to actually put the antenna together. I had a better picture of it, but I don't know where it is. So I'll just have to hold this up for you guys. So we're going to do the 40-meter antenna. That's valued at about $60 there from LDG. Now, and I want to thank Dwayne Kincaid very much for this. He said, Tom, let's give out some antennas for 8 weeks. So I said, okay, very good. Thanks to LDG. So let's do this. We're going to have Hambot pick a name from the chat room in just a moment, and we're going to give this antenna to somebody that's watching tonight. But if you remember, maybe you don't remember, I explained it last week. If you're not active in the chat room, it doesn't show your name. We're only seeing about 15 names right now that are active in the last 10 minutes. So to become active in the chat room and get your name in the participants list, you need to either say hi or hit a period and hit enter. You need to do something. You just enter something in the chat room right now, and that will populate the list of viewers out there, and we're going to pick from that list. So go ahead and get your name in the chat room right now by hitting hello or hi or period, whatever. Just do something. Okay. So we're gonna do that in just a minute. This is going to take about a minute to get all the people's names in the participants list there. And in the meantime, we'll be right back with you guys. Happy 2021 from ICOM. ICOM's IC705 gives hours of fun and enjoyment working your favorite bands this holiday season. The IC705 is a perfect sidekick for hams that like to enjoy what both the great outdoors and indoors have to offer. It's the perfect QRP companion. Base station features and functionality at the tip of your fingers in a portable package. It covers HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. This compact rig weighs in at just over 2 pounds. Features include a 4.3-inch touchscreen with live band scope. You can get 5 watts with the BP272 and 10 watts with the 13.8-volt DC. It has all modes, single sideband, CW, AM, FM, as well as full D-Star functions. A micro USB connector, Bluetooth, and WLAN. Integrated GPS with antenna and GPS logger. And it supports QRP and QRPP operations. The perfect accessory for the IC705 is a now available optional backpack with a special compartment for your IC705 and room for all the accessories. And there are a lot of accessories such as the QRP portable magnetic antenna, lithium-ion battery pack, compact lapel PTT Bluetooth and earphone, and coming soon is the AH705 antenna tuner. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. From QRP to QRO, fixed stations, portable and remote, an LDG tuner will match your radio to your antenna using our lightning-fast, proprietary tuning algorithms. LDG is a family-owned and operated company dedicated to bringing innovative, quality products to the amateur market. All LDG products carry a full 2-year warranty that is fully transferable. Support is only a phone call or email away. We're always here to help you. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
All right, guys, we are back, and I'm going to bring in Hambot right now. You know, Hambot is semi-retired. Hambot does not work as well with this chat room as the one when we used to have our own custom chat room, but we're going to let you see Hambot. Hambot, come on in out of retirement just for a minute. Make yourself known. Yeah, you can go ahead. All right, that was Hambot there. Bill, did Bill win it? I see Bill said, what was the name of your Hambot? Did we post a name yet? Oh, okay. I saw Bill say here. I thought he.
Oh no, he's trying to jump the gun. Is what he's trying to do.
All right. Who was it? Hambot? Top Gun? What? Top Gunner 16. You just want an antenna. Top Gunner 16. They're flying by so fast I can't see it. But all right, Top Gunner 16.
Oh, there's Jerry.
Top Gunner 16. I've got that written down, and we'll get that off the LDG, and we'll get that to you pretty quick, man. Hope you can use it there. All right. Let's jump right into our first full segment tonight. We've got with us tonight a one-man DX, and Roly ZL1BDQ is with us, and he's been doing, I think, dxpeditions for 45 years, and I think he's got an interesting story there. So, hey, Roly, how you doing, man? Are you there?
Oh yeah, I'm here, and once again, greetings. Glad to be able to join you guys this afternoon. Afternoon here in New Zealand, of course, and we're a day ahead, so we've talked about that one anyway, haven't we? So
yeah,
in fact, prior to the discussion, I think we all agree here on in the forum here that the whole world should be on UTC, and there'd be no trouble at all.
Yeah.
But greetings, yeah. Good to join you.
Well, UTC does help us, particularly with these dxpeditions. I'm sure you're very familiar with UTC down there.
All of the logs we write are always in UTC, and there's no confusion there. It does get quite confusing, actually, particularly here in New Zealand and throughout most of the Pacific, actually, because UTC changes in the middle of the day. And so you're trundling along around about midday, and all of a sudden a new day starts.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. That would be terrible.
Yeah, you see. So you don't get a nighttime, daytime sort of transition. It's right in the middle of the day where we were yesterday, a minute ago, now we're tomorrow. And so if you're not operating UTC, often I would find that people would be have the right time, but they'd be either a day before or a day after in the log.
Yeah. Well, how long have you actually been doing this, and have you done it with any groups, or has it mainly always been your one-man dxpedition?
No. In fact, first dxpedition I did was way back in 1981, and that was a single-man dxpedition up to New Mere, and just to sort of test the waters as to whether I liked doing this sort of thing. Found that as I did, and then from there on in, for a lot of the 80s, 84, 85, 88, 86, in around there, Often my very good friend, who's now a silent key, ZL1AMO, Ron Wright. Many of you who have operated CW or like to operate CW would have known Ron for sure. He was one of this world's experts in the CW. So Ron and I would go out to sort of weird sort of places like the Auckland Islands, Kermadec Islands, Rotuma, Tokelau, and we would put on something together. Often we'd take one or two other operators with us. But since Ron passed on and so on like that, and also another couple of guys that have also become silent key, I'm sort of left on my own nowadays. So I do what I call one-man dxpeditions. They're quite different, very different indeed. In fact, for a one-man dxpedition, what you can get in a backpack is what you take with you. And so now think about it. You can't actually go and get yourself a something great big SPE amplifier and take that with you, because you physically can't take all this sort of stuff. Likewise, you can't take 3-element beams with towers and things like that.
You know, Roly, a lot of these dxpeditions, and they've got a lot of supporters and financing back them. They do carry amplifiers, and they rent ships, and they carry beams and towers. I mean, you did it on the light side because you had to.
Yes, indeed, very much so. In other words, whatever I could carry is what I could take with me. Now, there is another a gotcha in this one too, and that is that I can leave New Zealand here, and because I've done so many air miles now and travelled a lot, I can leave New Zealand here with 2 bags, each weighing 23 kilos. You can convert that into pounds, whatever you want. So I can take 56 kilograms out of New Zealand. But that gets me as far as Brisbane, say. Now, from Brisbane on, say up to Papua New Guinea, for instance, or Solomon Islands, all of a sudden now, they're almost like an internal flight, and they limit their luggage down to 17 kg. So now I've got, potentially I've got 56 kg of luggage with me, but they'll only allow me to take 17 kg to Papua New Guinea from Brisbane, and the rest of it you pay excess luggage on, and they see you coming when it comes to excess luggage time. They see you coming, and the dollars can be very substantial indeed.
Have you?
So in reality, you're actually limited to about 20, 22 kg. Otherwise, it's the economics just don't work.
Have you had any problems where they wanted to take your equipment away, confiscate it?
Yes, many times.
Oh, boy, that would not be good, would it?
In fact, it's one country which I won't name, but its prefix is P29. Work it out. It's got to the stage now where I say, now listen, guys. Last time I had to pay 20 kina to get my luggage released because you couldn't find it. Now this time I'm not going to pay any more than 5 kina. So we either find it now or I go and find your supervisor. What are we going to do? Mysteriously, the luggage comes to 4 and it's found, and there we go. So it's a case of knowing how the system works in many of these countries.
Yeah. Have you got anything you can show us? Any pictures from any of these places?
Yeah. Listen, let's say I do this. Can you see that okay?
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful, man.
Oh, beautiful.
And I'll put me up there.
Okay.
And so I've titled this Digital dxpeditions in the Pacific, mainly because of latter years, digital has been the way to go, but it's not entirely that. Yeah. What's going to happen here? Okay. I call it fun in the Pacific. You know, a few of my past adventures have been Kermadec Island, ZL8BQD, the Auckland Island, ZL9BQD, Norfolk Island, VK9NR, 3D2RJ, that was Rotuma, and FK0 Radio, that's Nemea. Those are some of the past sort of exploits, and the more recent ones have been 5 Whiskey Zero, Samoa, 4 Whiskey 6 RR, Timor Leste, A35 RR, that's Tonga, E51 RR, that's Southern Cook Islands, H44 RR, it's...
can't set a timer for 24 hours or more. You might want to set a reminder instead.
Hold on, let's turn that rubbish off. H44RR, that's Solomon Islands. PT9RR, that's Papua New Guinea. We can add 8Q7XR, which is Maldives. E6AR, which is Niue, to that as well. Now, I realise there's a recurring theme here, guys. If you see a suffix of RR at the end of a call sign that's coming out of the Pacific, it's more than likely me on the other end of the
that's your initials.
Yeah, Roly Huntsman. There's a reason for that, and that I most of these islands I visit for. I'm doing commercial work up there, fixing broadcast FM transmitters and TV stations and so on, like keeping them on air. And of course, I'm dealing with all the radio administrations with these countries. And when I say, well, I want to operate amateur radio, I just get this blank stare. And I say, you don't know what amateur radio is? No. Well, let me show you what it's all about. And of course, I'll need a call sign. And here's some money to keep you happy to make me legal. So that's how that comes about. Now, we're talking about this part of the world, right? So we have New Zealand down the bottom. Australia's in there on the left-hand side as you're looking at it. And then the rest of the Pacific. And within that circle is the Pacific islands, which I mainly go to. Maldives, of course, is outside. That's out in the Indian Ocean. But that's the specific area we're talking about. And just to give you some idea, that's what the rest of the world looks like from the Pacific. So you can find yourself on there, and right in the middle of. No, hold on. That's the world as you see it up there in the States. So it's centered on the States there. So you can now see what the world looks like from a bird's eye view, looking out around the world and so on like that. So, but this is what I see from the Pacific. It's a totally different world altogether. And so you see that around the right-hand side of the perimeter, you got the United States and South America and so on like that. Europe is sort of up top left there. Africa's got a great big blob out to the right. And so the propagation through most of the Pacific is very, very much equatorial, around the equator. This is what it looks like from New Zealand. And of course now, where's Europe on there? And of course you try to find Europe. Well, Europe is thinly spread out right around the outside of the circle. So if we want to go to UK, you point your beam anywhere, and you'll get UK, right? Because UK is right around the outside of it. That's our antipodes. Africa, you see down the bottom left there, spread out all that great big blob there. You'd think that Africa and New Zealand would be really great, except that there's one great big green blob there just below New Zealand. There's a great big green blob, and it's called the Antarctica. And the Antarctica there forms this great big block of ice between us and Africa, and that causes all sorts of problems. Africa is a very, very difficult country from New Zealand. More so on your lower bands like 40 and 80 meters and so on. Okay, so let's have a look at some of these little places like the Cook Islands. That's a very, very typical beach scene, which I've got on my QSL card. And that's my operating position out on the deck. Why not? Set up out on the deck there, enjoying the sunshine. Then on the right-hand side there, if you look real careful, you can see a feed line going up to an antenna, which is slung between the two coconut trees there. So that's a dipole, which I've just a center-fed dipole, which I've just, in fact, I think it's a center-fed track dipole on 40 and 20, which are pulled up into the tops of a coconut tree. Those of you that are a little bit, I'll get to that one a little bit shortly about those who might be a little bit sensitive about how we get antennas up in the trees, but let's move on. That's a typical operating position. Why not? I don't see a pina colada sitting there. Okay. I normally take my Alicraft KX3 and which is sitting there on the desk, and I'll often run a small 100-watt amplifier if I'm able to. But the vast majority of stuff is done with the KX3 on 10 watts, and away you go, particularly if you're operating digital modes like FT8 and so on. Brilliant. And of course, remember, I'm the DX. So this is typical what you see on an FT8 screen when I'm from my end, right? It's jammed red, and I'm sitting there, well, who do I choose next? It's just, there's no lack of, that was all mind with this back in the days of JD65, isn't it? But there would be. But that's typical what I'd see from any of the islands. As soon as I fire up, my input screen just goes red, solid red. Papa 29, P29RR in Papua New Guinea, this is a very typical sort of way in which I get to one of the stations that I service. You hop in the canoe, and that's the only way you can get, that's your only means and mode of transport around the place. So make sure you pack all your gear into Pelican cases, which are well and truly waterproof, because often your gear will arrive at a destination before you do. So now that's one of the typical radio stations which I'm servicing up there in Papua New Guinea. I get the privilege of being able to get one of the boys to climb to the top of that tower, which is it's a 220-foot tower. He'll climb to the top of that and put a 20-meter dipole at the top of that for me, and you get heard around the world, no trouble at all with that. Or the tower is actually insulated, so I can actually load the tower itself for 160 meters. That works very well. In 80 meters, I'll run a sloper or something like that off that tower. Now, I realise that I'm in a privileged position to be able to use that tower, and as the chief radio engineer, nobody's going to argue with me anyway, so there we be. So that's in P29RR. When I'm operating in a place called Wewak, but often I'm out in one of the villages. There's another shot of the antenna. You actually, in the left-hand photo there, sort of on the right-hand side, you can just see the trap in the middle of the dipole. Often when I'm out in the villages, that's a typical one shot from one of the villages I'll go out to. Then it's a different story altogether. And I'm a great fan of the DX Commander type series of antennas. They work extremely well for me. Very easy to deploy on 40 or 20 meters. They work very, very well in a jungle sort of situation like you see here. Either that, or I'll This is where those are a little bit sensitive. You better close your ears here. It only costs one cigarette per day to get a 12-year-old boy to climb coconut trees for you all day. So
Wow.
you can sling in wire antennas up into the coconut trees at 60, good 60 feet in the air, and that works very well. And now this young fellow here is the guy that's looking after that station at the moment. He would love to get a amateur radio license. Now I'm gradually taking him through the course. They have the same course as we do here in New Zealand and Australia. So each time I go up to PNG, we go through yet another module or something like that. And eventually, when I actually get there around to him, when I think he's good enough and so on like that, and he's capable enough, we'll get a license for him. And that DX Commander is sitting there all ready for him. He's holding my aircraft KX3 at the moment, but he's not going to get that. But eventually, we'll get him something like a 7300 or something like that he can operate from exactly where you see him sitting here right now. And there'll be one. I think he'll be the first actually the first national Papua New Guinean that will hold a amateur radio license. So that's exciting and a lot of fun. That guy's name is Isaac. So if you think of Isaac, that's him. And again, that's exactly what I see when I fire up FT8 or JD65 or any of the digital modes from Papua New Guinea. All of a sudden, your receive screen just goes red with stations calling you.
Mm-hmm.
Timor-Leste, now that's an interesting country. Oh my goodness. Getting a license for Timor-Leste is not easy. First of all, they'll only speak Portuguese, Indonesian, or their own national dialect. English is very difficult for them. Fortunately, I had a Portuguese translator with me. But to get the license there, the first day I went in, I presented my credentials and said, this is what I want to do. So they gave me the paperwork. Take the paperwork away, fill it in, bring it back the next day and try and make sure the engineer's there. He would then have a look through the paperwork and say, yeah, the paperwork's okay. Now bring in your equipment. We want to have a look at your equipment. So I brought my little aircraft KX3 in and put a bit of wire out the side of it and showed him what we're about to do. They were absolutely fascinated to see what they wanted to do is find out a little bit more about what this amateur radio stuff was. Mm-hmm. That was the second day. The third day, then I could come back and because now my license had to go and get the president to sign my license. Third day, I went back, paid for the license and picked it up. Late in the afternoon. The fourth day, I was actually able to get on the air. So you can imagine the frustration, right, when I'm only there for a couple of weeks. Lovely location, but there we go. There's the license for East Timor on the left as we're looking at the screen, and the one headed with Pangtel at the top. That's a Papua New Guinean license. And East Timor, that's the station which I was looking after and servicing. It's an FM broadcast station, 5 kilowatt station on the top of a hill. And that's looking down from that hill, the top of that mountain, actually down into the city of Dili in East Timor. And I was able to set up inside that hut there and operate, once again, sling some antennas from that tower and operate from there for a little bit. The plus 35 degrees Celsius drove me out of there pretty quickly, though. You guys can do the maths. I can't remember what 35 degrees Celsius is in old money now, so... And you see some great sites in Timor-Leste. That's the way in which we had to get our gear up to the top of the mountain, packed into boxes and then put into the boot of a, you call it the
trunk.
The trunk, don't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we call it the boot. Well, they put it in the trunk of a taxi, and that eventually gets up to the top of the mountain sometime anyway.
Mm-hmm.
No sense in wasting space on a motorbike. There's a family of 5 there on that motorbike, and that's a very common sight around the place. The whole family will jump on a bike and off they go. Osh would have a great fun there when they... The Solomon Islands, H44RR, right out in the middle of the Pacific again. Beautiful island and so on like that. That's the airstrip in which we're landing on. You only get one chance at it. And you better be holding on, because as soon as the wheels touch down, there's all brakes on and brakes everything. Otherwise, you end up in the lagoon at the other end. So, good fun. Those that are a little bit astute will be looking at that picture and going, "Oh my, what can we see here?" Come on, the DXs of you, what are you seeing there?
Well, I see a lot of antenna supports.
You've got it, Tom. Yeah. You've got it 100%. Mm-hmm. Look at them all just sitting there. You can choose a couple which are the right distance apart, I'm sure, for an 80-meter dipole or a 160-meter dipole. And as I say, it's only going to cost you one Lucky Strike cigarette to have some little fellow climb those trees. They walk up them. It's great to watch these guys. They don't actually sort of climb up like a monkey would climb up. They actually walk up them. They bend their body around and up they go. And they go up really, really quickly too. So no excuse not to be able to get a wire antenna up in the air anyway, that's for sure. This is me doing a little bit of work. That's the radio station, which was the hut that I worked from while I was up there. Those big coconut trees are just behind us. But this is another way of just getting the locals to sling a pipe up against the side of a building. One to support the the local FM transmitter at the top there, which will be probably a 100-watt FM transmitter. Might as well use the pole for amateur radio as well. Western Samoa, 5 Whiskey Zero radio. Again, I'm out at a commercial install, and I've been able to use some of the antennas around the place. These particular ones, which were begging to have some amateur radio antennas slung off them, and this one on the right there, I wasn't game to climb that one myself. I think the rust was holding it together somehow, but one of the local boys said, "Oh, he'd climb it." And I go, "Well, good luck to you." Again, my setup at the radio station, you can just see the little alley craft in the middle, and away we go. Those of you who've worked 5 Whiskey 1 Sugar Alpha, 5W1SA, he's a Japanese fellow that lives in Samoa. His name is Atsu, and that's Atsu's shack. So there we go. We've got more shack pictures, Katie.
Yeah.
And he's got about every brand of amplifier imaginable there, but often when I go up there, that bed that you see at the back of the shack there, that's those are my lodgings. And we'll just tumble out of bed and make a few QSOs. A35 radio, that's Tonga. Yeah, Tonga is famous for its hurricanes and so on like that. Now, this is a full-blown hurricane we got here, and we've got people just walking around. It's fine. Yeah, you can see the how much wind is blowing by the coconut trees. Don't normally have the heads of their trees out to the right angles like that. They're normally sitting up on top. Now the wind force can be so great that whole head of that coconut tree can come off, and that now becomes very dangerous. It's like a flying ballistic, that's for sure, and can cause a lot of damage. So we're in the middle of a hurricane here, and that's often the damage that these hurricanes cause. Houses don't really stand much of a chance there. But in all the events, you'll find that the local people have still got a huge, great big grin on their face. It's just part of life. Let's get on with it. So this is my friend, one of my buddies up there that just took me around and showed me what the hurricane damage is all about. So the thing which you have to put up with or contend with, and will make provision for if you're going to go to Tonga and the likes. I've just at the back of the place where I was staying there's this telephone pole sticking out of the ground, and you can see that I've got a trapped dipole from the top of that on probably 40 and 20 meters, and that's what I was operating with from Tonga. And that's what you get at the end of the day at Tonga. Mm-hmm. Just the beautiful, beautiful sunset. So that's a brief resume of some of the expeditions that I've done as what I call one-man expeditions into the Pacific of latter times. And so I can pause there, Tom, and take some questions if you wish at this stage. And then I've just got a few more slides of my very, very early expeditions from way back in the 80s. We can go on with those if you wish. Or
yeah, there's Steve Austin in the chat room here says, hello, Roly, remember me and you talking on Zello on DX Commander? You remember?
Yeah, we do. Hello, Steve.
Hey, Steve, how you doing here? Yeah. I think everybody's jealous. They'd all like to go on a DXpedition here, for sure.
Yeah, I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. I've been following
the woman
chat.
would love you.
I think a DXpedition has been on my bucket list forever.
Righty, well. Okay, well, this might change your mind a little bit. So let's nip back to 1984. 84. This is what I looked like in 1984. Considering more hair and.
Is that you in the center?
That's me in the center. That's and then immediately behind me with his hand up to his face. That's ZL1BDQ. Sadly, he's silent key now.
Uh-huh.
And then the chap standing beside me there, that's Dwayne, W6REC. Okay. He came along with us as well, up to the Kermadec Islands.
Well, it's warm. I can tell it's warm. And 30. By the way, 35 Celsius is 95 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, right. Remember, that's just the ambient temperature, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we all, there's the operating crew there. There's from left to right, we have Dwayne, Stinky the dog, myself, ZL1BQD. Next to me is ZL1AAS, and then right on the end there in the yellow, ZL1AMO, Ron. So that's made up the crew to go up to the Auckland Islands.
Do you operate a lot of CW on these instead of voice, or you operate all modes? What's your operation?
I operate all modes. I love CW and so on that, but Ron was the CW expert, and it's I can't go back on that. It's fine. I'll come back. No, I'll tell you now. Ron was an expert in CW. Now, he could, this is typical of Ron, right? He was a very heavy smoker, so he'd be rolling a cigarette in one hand, keep keep on rolling. Tuck it in the back of his ear. That's fine. Roll another cigarette. Tuck it in the other ear. Like that. But this, I'm sitting on the other side of the room on sideband, and I'm going, what's he playing at? Because here he is, he's call run operator, and the operator's given him his name and his address and the colour of his eyes and the name of his cat. And Ron's just got impatient and gone on to the next operator, who also decided to tell him his name and where he lives. So Ron's got fed up with that and gone on to the third operator, who just gives a 5-9. Ron goes, yep, 5-9, bang. Oh, no, the second operator now has finished. Yeah, you're 5-9.
No,
now the first operator is finished. Yeah, you're 5-9, QRZ.
So
All three operators have no idea what's going on, and all three operators all thought they were having one individual. He's made three QSOs within one.
Yeah,
I think you get like parentheses, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting over there, and I'm shaking my head, and I said, all at the same time, all the time, rolling another cigarette and chatting to me on the other side of the room at the same time, and all this is going on. So I go, well, mate, no, you've got me there. I'm pretty good at the CW, but yeah, I'm not a good. I tried doing that on sideband one time. Limited success. The only problem is when it goes wrong, it goes very, very wrong indeed.
Yeah.
Now you got an awful mess to try and sort out. Anyway, back to this lot up here. This is the way in which you get onto the Kermadec Islands. There's a winch and a crane up on shore, and they put the derrick out over the boat, which is below you, and they've got a ladder tied onto that hook there. And now you time the swell so that the boat and the ladder come together. Mm-hmm. And when they come together, you jump, you grab hold of that ladder, and you hold on. And then they winch you up and onto shore. Oh, wow. So that's the way in which we had to get onto the Kermadec Islands. That's, I think that's myself and ZL1BDQ there at the moment. And, of course, all your gear had to come on land with, they put everything into baskets and things like that. Yeah. Interesting way to get onto an island, huh? Still want to come on the expedition with me? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in. I grew up in Miami.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, hold on. Just take a little bit of a note of this slide here. Sorry about the quality of the slides. These slides are 30-odd years old, and they're made on transparencies with my 35mm camera, and which I've tried to make digital copies of, so you can work that one out for yourselves. There's I'm not sure. I can't actually show you, can I? Right in the middle of that bay there, where you see all the waves breaking on the rocks, there is a little bit of a white speck there, sort of sticking out, and sort of mid-picture, sticking out into the blue of the water there. I think some of you would have seen it, because that's it there. Oh. Yeah. Now, boats are not meant to do that. You realise that. They're meant to be on top of the water, right? Mm-hmm. Not underneath the water.
Well, if you ran out of parking spaces, I guess.
Well, I'm guessing the boat went up and the ladder went down at the same time.
I'm guessing that a storm came down from Tonga, and now I believe that I'm not a sailor, right? But I believe the technique is you ride the storm out by going ahead of the storm, and when the storm blows itself out, you come back. The skipper decided that he'd go around the other side of the island and hold up in that little cove that we saw in the previous slide. And that was fine, except the storm obviously saw our boat and decided to back up and come back again. And picked the boat up and threw it up on the rocks, and that was the result, is what you see here. So now there's 4 amateur radio operators marooned on a very, very rare DX island, and we're stuck there for 3 weeks. What a tragedy that is. So, no laughs, okay.
Yeah.
So the DXpedition lasted another 3 weeks. That was a tragedy, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Eventually, a freighter came by, a intercoastal freighter. We originally were going to get the New Zealand Navy to come and pick us up and bring us back home again, but that was going to cost an awful lot of money. We managed to divert a Tongan freighter that was coming down to New Zealand. So they threw some rope ladders over the side of the ship, and we climbed up those rope ladders and eventually got ourselves on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Hit another storm on the way back home, incidentally, which was not a great barrel of laughs either. But eventually we got home, and that's the ship we came home on. So the expeditions can be a lot of fun, but certainly things can go wrong. And certain things did go wrong with our Auckland Island expedition.
Well, but it looks like you had fun doing it.
Oh, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
a lot of fun, a lot of memories, and you do have a lot of fun, and I can highly recommend it. But all of the Pacific is wide open. Well, of course, nowadays we have a problem with this COVID stuff and traveling, but normally the Pacific is wide open for travel. It's relatively easy to get a license through most of the Pacific, and it's pretty easy to operate wherever you go. Yeah, and you can do it. You certainly, a one-man guy can do it. Just make sure that the logistics is whatever you can put in the backpack is what you can carry.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever you can get on the aircraft for yourself is what you can carry. Yeah. So, I'm open to questions on anything there, Tom.
Okay, I've been kind of looking at the chat room. I haven't seen a lot of questions. There have been a lot of comments about people really have enjoyed this. They want to go. Fred, do you know Fred? W2FTR, do you know Fred? He says he's trying to get one of your coils to work or something. I don't know what that's about.
Okay.
Do you have coils that you make or?
Well, I've done 35 DXpeditions to 28 different countries. So, which coil are we talking about?
No, I'm talking about coil. COIL. Coil.
Oh, coil. Yeah. Oh. That's a subject. That's a subject of another. Another time.
Well, he's trying to get one to work, and pardon my southern accent when I say coils.
That's all right.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see.
You just put the emphasis on the different syllables.
They love the idea of a mini DXpedition on the beach. That's where you need to have it. But of course, you want the good weather. Let's see.
Well, listen. There's an island sitting out in the middle of the Pacific, which every American operator can go to with absolutely no problem because you already got the license for it. And you can go there and set up and operate and have a lot of fun. And it is a rare DX island now. Any idea what it is?
Maybe Guam or something? I don't know.
No, Guam's there's a couple of guys up in Guam operating.
I don't know.
There's a W7 operating out of Guam now.
Is it a U.S. possession? Or
yeah, sort of.
Is it a U.S. possession? You said we already had the license.
Yeah, you already got the license for it.
I don't know. I don't know that much out there. I don't know.
Okay, American Samoa.
Oh, okay, yeah.
KH8. There used to be a resident operator on American Samoa. There are no resident operators now on American Samoa. And the last, my friend, 5 Whiskey 1 there, Sugar Alpha, he goes there across there occasionally. He has an American license. He can operate from there. And one of these days I'll go up there and we'll kick up a bit of a stink from there as well.
Yeah.
But, every American operator can go to American Samoa, and you'll be well sought after because it's been a while since KH8 has been on the air.
You know, I operated a year from South Korea, but I don't remember making that many contacts, to tell you the truth.
South Korea, look up the most wanted countries list, and you'll find South Korea is probably in the bottom.
Yeah.
25%. All the islands which I've been talking are normally within the top 25%.
Right.
Now, when we went out to Auckland Islands and Auckland, Kermadec, Tokelau's, Rotuma, back in late 70s and 80s, they were really right up in the top 10 of the most wanted countries on the DXCC listing. So you can imagine when you just go CQ ZL1BDQ, that's all you have to say, and boom, it's all on for young and old.
Mm-hmm.
And in those days, there was no such thing as spotting networks, and no such thing as what do you call them, shore controllers and all that sort of stuff. No PSK networks or anything like that. It was just, dare I say, good old-fashioned amateur radio where guys tuned the band and listened for the DX. But even then, word got out very, very quickly, and the pile-ups would ensue very, very quickly indeed.
Hey, Roly, there was another question in the chat. Yeah. It was like Bill asked, what did you use for power? Was it generators, battery, commercial power? I'm sure it varied by your location, but some of those had to be a little bit challenging with power.
Yes, indeed. Kermadec, Auckland Islands.
Roly, can you pull your camera back up on you? We've been looking at the boat there.
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
Yes, indeed. Power is a big problem, and in every case we had to take generators with us. And of course, now you've got the logistics of generators and fuel and everything that goes with that.
Yeah.
So in all those rarer DX locations, there's nobody there. So where there is no population other than sea lions, you've got to provide your own power. Although the later ones that I've done, and as you say, well, obviously a lot of the operations have been from commercial sites, so of course there's power available. Yeah, unless I get out into the villages and or onto some of the rarer, smaller islands like Daru Island and Papua New Guinea, there's no local power there. Everybody has their own generators.
Okay. Well, hey, man, we thank you so much for coming on here tonight with us. If there's any questions or anything that people have about the expeditions, you want to give them an email or something? Or how about your website? Well, they need to come to your website.
The best thing is actually, if you go into my YouTube channel, just type ZL1BQD into YouTube, and you'll see a whole lot of my expeditions there. There's a really good video on the Auckland Island, the expedition, Kermadec Islands, Maldives, or a number of those, and other videos which I've done on YouTube. So just ZL1, or how do you say it in the States? ZL1BQD, yeah. Put that into the search, and it'll come up immediately for that.
Yeah, I've looked at your
here's a challenge for you. Here's a challenge for you, though, for your listeners. Go to the Auckland Islands video, ZL9BQD, and right at the end of that video, I've put a little bit of a tribute to Ron, ZL1AMO, and there's probably about 5 minutes of him operating CW. Now, here's the challenge. See if you can hear and copy what Ron is copying, and if not, what are you copying? And, see if you can copy somebody else that he's not copying. Now, you're going to have to be pretty smart with the CW because it's all at 30, 35 words a minute.
Yeah.
But you'll just see his totally relaxed sort of style, just sitting there, just as though somebody's just talking to him. It's a fabulous piece of footage, I assure you.
All right, we'll check that out.
Yeah, so yeah, the YouTube channel will gives you a lot more about what we just talked about now.
All right. Well, Roly, thank you so much for coming and sharing all this story with us tonight. It was really interesting. And boy,
listen, it's my
I think everybody in the chat room wants to be you now. They want to be on those islands and under those coconut trees and palm trees and the wind blowing and the ocean. Well,
to be honest, if once the travel restrictions come off around the world, you can do that. You certainly can. It's not impossible. As soon as the restrictions come off, my next expedition will be up to E6AR in Niue. Then I've got to go back to P29RR back to New Guinea to fix a couple of transmitters there, and likewise Samoa, I think it is. But if you hear RR with a call sign that's out of the Pacific.
All right, we know now.
We
know now, and we'll be watching for you out there. And if I hear RR, I'm going to call you. And if I don't get through, I'll text you and tell you to listen.
I'm still trying to figure out how this can be that bad when you're sitting on the back porch of a South Pacific island with a pina colada and a KX3.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's when you go to the Auckland Islands or Kermadec Islands and get shipwrecked. That's when it'd be a chance to
that could be bad. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thank you again, man. And hey, you're welcome. Stick around the rest of the show if you want to. Alan's got some stuff we're going to talk about. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much. If I might do a little update or something, but I do need to make an announcement here. And hey, we appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
You're welcome, and cheers to your audience there. Thank you very much for having me. All
right, guys. Hey, great presentation there by Roly. One man dxpedition, man. That was really interesting. All right, again, hey everybody, just a couple things right now. Press the subscribe button. We're on YouTube now. We're trying to get our numbers up a little bit there. We're trying to brand it or market it as a YouTube channel. We have not done that the last 5 or 6 years, so we're kind of making that move. We need you to hit the subscribe button. And if you want to, hit that little bell. That little bell will send you a notification whenever we go live. Sometimes in the week, we'll go live with something special. So please do that. And also hit the like button. The more likes we get, the better YouTube will rate our channel and push it out there to more and more people. And if you're listening out there on shortwave right now on 7490, this is Amateur Radio Roundtable, and it's a show about ham radio, amateur radio, and we just heard from Roly down in Auckland, New Zealand, about going to all these different islands and operating from there, and it was kind of cool. You can join us if you're interested in this program. You can join us by going to w5kub.com on Tuesday nights. Actually, let me give you the UTC. It would be 0200 Wednesday morning. UTC, I think, is the time. So join us there. Check us out. Our YouTube channel is just W5KUB. That'll get you there. So please do that. I want to clarify something about the drawing a while ago. Someone thought that the drawing only came out of only 10 people in the list. If you'll notice right now, YouTube has a participants list, and it's only showing about 10 people. And that's because in the last 2 minutes, only 10 people have been active talking. So when we do the prize drawings, we want to see the participant list with everybody's name. And that's why we ask you to hit a period or say hello or hi and hit the enter key. And once you do that, you become active in the participants list. And then that list populates where we have maybe 150, 200 people in it. And that's where we'll pick the prize winners from there. If you're out there listening on shortwave, please send us an email to tom@w5kub.com, tom@w5kub.com. We'd love to hear from you, where you are, and tell us how you're hearing the station tonight and so forth. All right, let's jump over and talk with Alan tonight, and let's see what Alan's got for us in tech tips tonight. Alan, are you ready?
I am here, and Roly, a great presentation, boy, I'll tell you. It seems like a fantastic part of the world, and being up here in New Jersey and only been off the continental U.S. twice, never been down your part of the world there, but it looks fantastic. So thanks again for that.
You're welcome.
So anyway, yeah. So Tom, I think you just have to give me permission to share.
I will do that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, after that very colorful presentation, I feel like a little basic electronics, back to basics type thing is going to be a bit dry, but we'll do what we can do.
That's okay.
So actually what I'm going to talk about tonight is something I did a video on about a year ago, and it's just kind of a back to basics thing. And I called it a practical guide to diodes from ideal to real. This is my video, I think it was number 308. It was from November, about a little over a year ago. But just kind of walk through a little bit about what diodes are, okay? And we start off by thinking about diodes as an ideal diode. An ideal diode you can think of just as a one-way check valve, right? All its current go in one direction. So in one direction, it looks like a short circuit. So as you apply voltage, the current would just increase dramatically, just be limited by whatever is connected at the other end. And in the reverse direction, it looks like an open circuit, like you cut the wire. Now, of course, an ideal diode doesn't exist, but it also makes it a very simple way just to understand the way a lot of diodes are used, but not all, as we'll see here in a few minutes. But that's when we first start thinking about diodes, that's what people think about as just an ideal diode. The terminals, anode and cathode, refer to the polarity in which we're applying voltage and therefore having current flow. Of course, there are no real ideal diodes. There are some other characteristics of diodes. So let's get a little more real. The first thing we think about when we talk about a real diode property is something called the forward voltage. And what that means is that the diode doesn't really start conducting in the forward direction until the voltage across the diode reaches some value. It's often called the forward, the diode voltage. Okay. And for silicon diodes, it's like 0.6 or 0.7 volts, 600 or 700 millivolts. Once you get above that, the diode conducts. So kind of the next step to start thinking about diodes is that, okay, it's kind of like that ideal diode, except that instead of anything above positive 0, we conduct. Now it's anything above positive 0.6 or 0.7 volts, we start to conduct. And a great many circuits can be analyzed just by this simple approximation to a real diode. It still doesn't tell you everything about what the diode does, but in order to understand how most diode-based circuits operate, you can use this very simple assumption that you just have a constant forward voltage, that once you exceed that, or you're forward biased, that it'll just look like a constant voltage drop. Okay. So, but again, this is approximation. So we get a little more real. And we talk about a little more real. What this is illustrating is on the IV curve here, is that once the diode is forward biased, it doesn't have effectively a zero resistance to it. It does have some small, what we call incremental or dynamic resistance to it, meaning that once we pass that forward voltage, further increases in voltage and therefore increases in current, the diode voltage is going to increase slightly. Okay. And this kind of more real representation kind of represents that as effectively a small series resistor in series with the voltage source of the diode. And the slope of that curve is effectively this dynamic resistance or incremental resistance of the diode. Now, in most circuits, you don't really have to use this property of the diode to analyze them properly. Oftentimes, you can just get away with thinking about just a constant forward voltage, but this does kind of help to explain that when you operate diodes at very low currents versus higher currents, that same diode is going to have a different forward voltage. It also kind of explains why if you test diodes with the diode test function of your DMM or even a multimeter, that different meters and different testers will give you a different forward voltage value. And that's because oftentimes they'll be testing at different test currents, which will be at different points across this curve. So if we get a little more real, this is a lot truer representation now of what a diode IV characteristic looks like. The reality is that the forward voltage isn't really a sharp knee. It's kind of more of a bit of a curve. How gentle that curve is, or how kind of sharp that curve is just a function of some of the different diode manufacturing characteristics. And the reality is that the slope of the line after the diode is turned on is not necessarily a constant value. It's kind of this curve-shaped thing, and the curve might vary one way or the other depending on the diode type. So that dynamic resistance is not something that's constant anywhere above VF. It could have some other different slope to it. And the reality is you actually do start conducting as soon as you go past zero, okay? As soon as you get anything of positive voltage, but that current could be really, really small. And then you start increasing exponentially as the voltage increases. So this is kind of more of a zoomed in view of what happens as that diode turns on. So that gets a bit more real in terms of what's going on in the forward direction. Now, up to this point in the reverse direction, we just assumed it looked like an open circuit. But the reality is that as soon as you reverse bias the diode, most diodes are going to have some amount of reverse leakage current. It may be in the order of nanoamps or sometimes microamps, sometimes even much smaller than that. But there will be some very small amount of leakage current. And then just about all diodes, at some point, if you reverse bias them enough, they break down. And therefore will start conducting again. And often, most diodes, we don't want to operate anywhere near that reverse breakdown voltage, but there is a class of diodes where we use this on purpose. They're called Zener diodes or Zener diodes, where we typically use that characteristic purposely, okay? But in most cases, that reverse breakdown is kind of a rating you don't want to go anywhere near, especially when you're looking at using a diode in like a rectifier type application. The other thing we'll mention too is that all of these characteristics, the forward voltage, the dynamic resistance, the breakdown, the leakage current, all of these things are dependent somewhat on temperature. In some cases, it could be fairly strongly. Things like the forward voltage on silicon diodes, about 2 millivolts per degree C, type of a change with temperature. The leakage current can actually change quite dramatically at high temperature compared to low temperature. So you have to consider that in terms of real characteristics of diodes that deviate from your traditional ideal understanding of what a diode is. And a couple more diode realities. Diodes have essentially a junction capacitance that's bias dependent. We take advantage of that in certain applications like with varactor diodes. But also the amount of charge stored in the junction during forward bias will be a function of current and will also be a function of the different the different manufacturing of the diodes. Things like large power diodes like rectifiers, like a 1N4004, will have a fairly large amount of charge stored in the junction. And that affects things like, this charge storage will affect things like reverse current when you turn the diode off. What that means is if you have a rectifier or a diode where you've got a bunch of current flowing through it and you immediately reverse bias that diode, you will actually get current flow in the reverse direction. That current flow is the charge leaving that's being stored in the junction. So you get this what's called reverse current or reverse recovery time of the diode. So I've actually got a video I did on that here as well. And also, people think of diodes, well, it's a pretty simple topic, but there really are dozens and dozens of different types of diodes. We mostly think of simple rectifier, general purpose diodes. You've got them in a power supply or something like that, or maybe a switching. But then you've got other applications like switching diodes, where it's not really necessarily used as a rectifier, but it's actually used as a switch. By forward biasing the diode, you let a signal pass through it. Reverse biasing the diode, it blocks that signal. It's very often used in switching applications in RF circuits and things like that. So that's a very common thing. And video number 82 talks a bit about using diodes as switches. Schottky diodes are built a little bit different. They're not PN junctions. They're a metallurgical junction with a semiconductor. got the property of having very little charge storage, so the reverse recovery is very, very small. And they've got a very low forward voltage. So they're typically used in things like mixers and things like that, and not used in rectifier circuits because their reverse leakage is generally a little bit higher. We mentioned Zener diodes or avalanche diodes, where we purposely use them in a reverse bias type situation. I did a video number 289 on Zener diodes and avalanche diodes. So you can go check that one out. PIN diodes, which stands for positive, intrinsic, negative semiconductor structure. PIN diodes are kind of unique in that they purposely design in, it's used for a couple of reasons. One is certain PIN diodes can be used as varicap diodes for actors, which I'll talk about next. But in most cases, PIN diodes are used in switch applications. They're designed to have essentially a large charge storage so that they can be used for relatively large signal switching. And they're also got the property of having an RF impedance that can vary as a function of bias. So they're used sometimes in electronic attenuators and things like that. So I've got several videos on PIN diodes, number 118, 200, and number 130. Varactor diodes are also called varicap diodes. Typically have a symbol like this. And these are designed such that the reverse bias capacitance of the diode can be varied over a fairly large range. And these are typically used in electronic tuners and varactor and VFOs and things like that, electronic tuning circuits, by being able to electronically change the value of a capacitor in, say, an oscillator circuit or something like that. And of course, there's a bunch of different types of light emitting diodes, LEDs that we use in all kinds of things, as well as laser diodes and vertical cavity surface emitting laser diodes. They all kind of share a common symbol like that. Often not used as rectifiers or anything like that, but just typically used as indicators. You also have, the opposite direction. You have photodiodes or photodetector diodes, typically used to receive optical signals and convert them into either current or voltage, depending on how you've got the diode configured in your circuit. And then there's some interesting diodes that don't necessarily have, the same type of IV characteristic. Things like tunnel diodes. I did a video on these, number 204. They got a really unique kind of shape to the IV curve with a little bit of a negative resistance in them. They're often used in things like bistable circuits and oscillators and things like that. Step recovery diodes are diodes that have got a reverse recovery that is very, very rapid in terms of how fast it switches. And these are often used in RF circuits as frequency multipliers and things like that, comb generators and that kind of thing. Gun diodes is another kind of an RF diode that's got some strange IV characteristics that can be exploited in certain designs. But so it's a pretty big topic. There's another half a dozen or so diode videos that I didn't even mention here that feature diodes in one way, shape, or form that you can go take a look at as well. So, but again, this set of notes that we're looking at here are notes that were in video number 308. So just go to the description underneath that video, find a link to this particular set of notes. And then finally, the last slide here just talks a bit about some common diode specifications. Forward voltage of diodes, typically silicon, PN junction diodes, 600 to 700 millivolts forward voltage under normal, typical operating conditions. High power diodes can have forward voltages over a volt or more. Germanium diodes and Schottky diodes are typically lower forward voltage, 200 or 300 millivolts typically under their normal operating conditions. IF is the forward current, which is the typical operating current for that particular diode type, and might be a selection criteria for depending on what kind of a circuit you're designing. That's another characteristic you might need to look at in the data sheet. Reverse current, that's again the amount of current that's going to flow under reverse bias conditions. And typically a few microamps or less. Germanium diodes and Schottky diodes are typically worse than that. There are other diodes that are much, much lower than that as well. It all depends on your application, whether or not reverse current is going to be a problem in your particular circuit or not. VBR is the reverse breakdown voltage, and that's where the reverse current increases rapidly. And usually, again, you don't want to go there unless the diode you're using happens to be a Zener or an avalanche diode that's designed to operate in that region. Also related to that is something called the peak inverse voltage. peak inverse voltage is the voltage rating where it's the maximum reverse voltage that you'll typically operate up to. And it's safe to go there. You just don't want to exceed it. Where the breakdown voltage is the voltage that you really want to stay away from. But those two are essentially pretty close to each other, kind of related. And then finally, another thing I mentioned a few times is the reverse recovery time, or TRR. And again, I did a video on that describes what it is, shows you what it is, and shows you how to measure it. And again, this is the amount of time that reverse current will flow when switching from forward bias to reverse. And this may range from very, very short, well under 1 nanosecond to many microseconds or more. Again, the Schottky and switching diodes are really fast. The reverse recovery time, a few nanoseconds or less, typically don't have much reverse recovery at all. Power rectifiers, pin diodes, even LEDs, they're pretty slow to respond. Again, so you may have several microseconds or more of reverse current flow. And you might take advantage of this in switch applications. If you're switching, some RF, signal, when you forward bias the diode, the RF signal goes through it. When you reverse bias the diode, as long as the negative peaks of your RF signal aren't longer than the reverse recovery time, then the diode still looks on. So, which means you don't have to forward bias it to some bias level that is much higher than the peak-to-peak RF signal that you're applying through it. So you take advantage of that reverse recovery time in these switch type applications. So again, the videos that I did on RF switches talk a bit about that as well. So again, this is just kind of a quick summary of a video I did, number 308, to kind of lead you from ideal to real from diodes, and just to give you maybe open your eyes a little bit to the various different types of diodes that are out there and different applications that they're used for. And it's a lot more than just a simple rectifier that most people think about. So that was that. So
wow, that was
a little bit different than some solo dxpeditions, but I hope you found that enjoyable.
Hey, that was real interesting and very thorough. You really covered a wide area there. You got me thinking about the voltage drop across the diodes. We use, when we fly the trackers on our balloons, if we have multiple solar panels, like maybe one's over in the dark and one's in the sunlight, you don't want the sunlight, you don't want the voltage feeding back to the other panels, so we'll put a diode in there to block it. Mm-hmm. And a typical diode is going to have a higher voltage drop across it. I started using some Schottky diodes. I think they're probably 3/10 of a volt maybe.
Yeah, depending on how much current you got going through.
Yeah, they're about 3/10 of a volt. But you know what? I found these. These are Max 4200s. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Max 40200.
Okay.
It's advertised as almost a perfect diode.
Okay.
That's how it's advertised, and it has a drop of about 24 millivolts.
Wow.
And
is it truly a semiconductor diode, or is it some kind of a active, kind of ideal diode thing inside of a package? What is it?
Well, these are surface mount. You can see the little strip right there, but these actually have an enable pin on them. Okay. You were talking about using diodes for switching. I suppose this fits that bill. I mean, I can enable or disable that diode to pass that current, but I thought I'd try these at almost no voltage drop, and like the advertisement says, they're near perfect.
Well, I'd also bet that those Schottky diodes that you're using when you're testing them on your bench and they're 300 millivolt drop, when they're sitting at 30 below at 40,000 feet, they're probably half of that.
You think it'd be less than that? You think? Okay.
Oh yeah. The voltage drop will go down as the temperature goes down.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. And also to
experiment, put a test current through one and then stick it in the freezer.
Yeah.
With a DMM.
Or hit it. I can hit it with a can of Freon. Just watch it go down.
There you go.
But well, I forgot the question I was going to ask you. Well, it'll come back in a minute.
Okay.
It'll come back. So anyway, I know what it was. You're talking about the amount of current through the diode. Of course, will affect the drop across it. What about the voltage? We're running like 4 volts max. Maybe we might get down to 2 volts in that swing of voltage, is that going to change much as far as the drop, you think?
No, yeah, because the only thing that's really going to change, like I said, I think in your application, it sits in series, and it really depends on how much current the rest of your circuit draws. So if the current drawn by your circuit doesn't change that much, the forward voltage draw is not going to change, regardless of whether it's being fed by 4 volts or 3 volts. As long as your circuit is still drawing that same amount of current, that's
right. That's right. Okay. Well, cool.
Hey, Alan?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a question in the chat room. Somebody wants to know where they can go to see these videos that you referenced.
Oh, so yeah. So if you just go to my YouTube channel, is just youtube.com/W2AEW. That'll bring you to my main YouTube page. And once you get there, you can go to not the search bar at the top, but the search that's kind of just down below the banner graphic. You can search there any of my 320 some odd videos, and find these videos. And there's also a link right in the banner graphic. There's a link to an index file that it's a PDF file you can open up, and that has every one of my videos kind of arranged numerically and by topic. And you can just do a quick search through the PDF to find the video you're interested in, and it'll link you right to it. This particular video is number 308. So I'm up to like 320 something now, so it's not that many videos down the stack if you list them. And then the notes that I showed you are actually, if you go up to the video page, there's a more info down below the video that has a description of what the video is. Down there, I've got links to the other videos that I mentioned, as well as a link to the PDF file of the notes that I showed you today.
All right. Well, every week, Alan, every week, I determine that you are an expert in a different subject. Tonight it was diodes. And,
Yeah, that was pretty
Trades
cool.
master of none. I don't know.
I think you really hit it out of the ballpark tonight on diodes, and it was really interesting. I mean, I've been working with diodes, for 60 years, and still the things you talked about tonight are just right on. And
well, I
that's a
learned
good
things
refresher.
about this too. I mean, like even when I did the video on reverse recovery time, I actually had a customer of mine that is working in a company that makes replacement semiconductors. And he said, we need to build, he showed me the test fixture they had to measure reverse recovery time. And he said that it works okay for these diodes, but doesn't work so well for these other ones. And it was the fast recovery type, like the switching type, that he couldn't get an accurate number on. And I took a look at his fixture and decided from a high speed and RF standpoint, it was a mess. So I said, well, let me show you how I do this. So I wound up hand building a fixture for him that had much better high frequency properties. And I thought, this might make an interesting video. So I did a video for my own YouTube page. So a lot of times I'll learn about something because of a question I get either professionally or somebody who comes up with a question on, on one of the other videos that I have. And that will, if I don't know the answer, but I think it's an interesting topic, I'll go through and learn all I can about it and then put a video together myself. So, but there's a lot of times that I've got to do a lot of research before I even put something together. So it's not like it's all sitting in here. It's stuff I got to figure out before I go put the material together. So
Yeah.
So I get to learn about this stuff too oftentimes when I.
I think a good segment for next week would be a 100 milliwatt QRP amplifier.
It's going to take me more than a week to optimize
That works, that really works, I mean.
Well, we'll definitely think about that some.
Yeah,
Analog's my weakness. You're on your own.
man.
Yeah, I'm still among the workforce here, so.
Yeah, I know you are. I know. I'm retired, but I've been so busy the last few days, I haven't had time to do anything, to tell you the truth, man. I spent most all day today working on the show, to tell you the truth.
I don't know if I'm still in the workforce or not.
I thought you got news that you were, or you still don't know yet.
There's just, it's one of those everything, this door's opening, this door's closing. Nobody knows. All I know is they're still sending me a paycheck and saying, enjoy your vacation.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Oh, guys,
Yeah,
we've
the
got
dial thing is
about
cool.
we've got 10 minutes left to fill our 2-hour spot on shortwave. Again, if you're listening on shortwave, this is amateur radio. And we thank you for listening tonight. And we've had some great segments. Hope you learned something. I did. send us an email to tom@w5kub.com. Let us know where you are.
Tom, what's the latest on WKUB-19?
23. We're up to 23.
23. Okay.
Yeah, 23. Well, I'm working on it. 23 is ready to go practically. We're using a new approach. The sun elevation is so low in the winter, and we're in the winter now. The sun only gets up to about 40 degrees. And we've been flying the horizontal solar panels, and they don't even become active until the sun hits 20 degrees. So it was only active from about 20 degrees to 40 degrees, and then it came back down. So this flight, we're going to fly, I've got two panels, opposite sides, two duplicate panels, and they're at a 45 degree from center, or 90 degrees from the two of them. So at 45 degrees, let's see if I can do this, at 45 degrees, the sun at the horizon now is going to be, right in our go live almost instantly on sunup. And then as the sun gets up to 40, it's going to be pretty close to dead on, and the sun's going to go back down to set, and it's still going to be within here. So the new panels we built, we think they're going to pick up sun better. It's two-sided, and this thing's going to kind of be moving around, but we also have some super capacitors on there, which greatly charge. Man, I've never seen this. When I grew up, a 1 farad capacitor was the size of your automobile. Well, now I've got 3 farad on this tracker, 3 farad at 3 volts, and it's just about the size of a little small cap that you always use. So, but it'll greatly store up the energy, and it'll store it up fast. And if the panels do move out of the sun a little bit or take a dip, those capacitors will hold that voltage and that current up there for somewhere between. Well, it'll hold it up there for about 2 minutes, for about 120 seconds. You could actually turn the sun off, and it would still run for 2 minutes on the supercapacitors. Now, if I get the amplifier working, it's not going to run that long. It'll probably run half that because it's going to require more current. So the tracker's ready to fly. This is a good time of the year to fly. We're in the winter time right now. All the storms are down in Roly's area. They're below the equator. We've got people out there right now that are flying the inexpensive Chinese round $4 balloon. It's on its 9th trip around the Earth right now. The $4 balloon is on its 9th circumnavigation. But that's a little uncommon for those. Those usually don't last you that long, maybe a week or 2 weeks or, whatever. They might make it around one time. Most don't. But this one's gone around 9 times. It flies a little bit lower, but of course, we don't have as many storms. We hope to launch in maybe a week. Everything's ready. I have the big balloons, the tractor's ready, the system's ready. I'd like to put the little 100 milliwatt amplifier on there and get it going. There's Bill calling. Let me add Bill in here. Well, it's almost the end of the show, but I'll add Bill.
Tom, also, if you have a chance to, I know you had shown some pictures of some of the solar panel arrays you had done. One of them was like a little triangular vertical array, and then you're talking about this kind of teepee type structure.
Yeah, this one, this is basically, and I think Bill's joined us. This is basically the W5KUB23. You can see I've got panels on 2 sides there at 90 degrees from each other. So that's what we're going to be flying on this one. If I can get the amp going in the next few days, and I trust it, we'll put the amp under there, and we will we'll fly it. Now we've added CW. Bill has done the firmware, and he's added the CWID, which you can hear now by ear. Of course, we still have all the data, and he's also added the QRSS, the very slow deal there. Hey, Bill, you there? I thought
hi, Tom, and all.
There he is.
It's Fascinating show today. I've been enjoying watching it.
Okay.
And I wanted to let you know I've been tuning to remote SDR radios around the country trying to listen for your test transmissions. And I was able to copy Whisper from the New York area and out in Arizona through remote web SDRs. So I looped the audio into WSJT-X program, and I'm able to, in fact, I'm doing that right now for a flight to just launch from Melbourne, Australia, from a school there. It's one of my Whisper Sky Trackers. And I'm listening to the signals on it from several different sites in Southern Australia, and the signal's really good.
Well, so I'm glad you were hearing it. Let me tell you something and see what you think about this. First of all, the 10 milliwatt transmitter, when it gets up at 45,000 feet, it does great. We're hearing it all over the world. Australia, everybody hears it. But I wanted a little bit more power, and particularly since we're going with the CWID. Now, Bill, normally the tracker's in here on a lab power supply, and I'll clip lead it to some coax that goes out to an antenna. I'm talking 130 feet out there. That 10 milliwatts, almost just most of the time, it does not make it anywhere to that 130 feet of coax. It just doesn't do it. Certain times a day, there may be 1 or 2 stations to pick it up. I put that little amplifier on there, Bill, and it was solid, bang, 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 all day, on that antenna. So I know it's doing good, but I've got a problem with it. I'm working the problems out. And we may fly without the amplifier, but I'd like to fly it with it. I just don't want to put something up there that has a problem and it causes interference or splatter or something, because it's going to be real difficult to get back up there and work on it.
You need a very tall ladder.
That's right.
But as you know, antenna height is everything, and so is every dB power. I wanted to mention that I just bought a really cool item. It was, I think maybe Alan mentioned it last week, but it's a tiny spectrum analyzer, Tiny SA. So if you go to I think it's tinysa.org. And I ordered it from a site that claimed they were in the U.S., and sure enough, I got it within just a few days of ordering it. And it is very, very powerful. It does just about, as far as doing HF transmitters and looking at the fundamental and the harmonics, it compares to $1,000 spectrum analyzers. It's plus, it's accurate within half a dB, but that's all we really need accuracy for working on these little QRP radios. And the harmonics are shown beautifully, just what I would expect from $1,000, comparing it to $1,000 spectrum analyzer. So, and it fits just a little tiny board. It looks exactly like the mini DNA, and it's in the same form factor, and it works great. I've been really pleased with it so far. Plus, you can use it as a little signal generator as well. Yeah. So, been very pleased, and I'll have to. You have to
show it to us on a show maybe one night soon. Hey, Bill, stand by just a minute. We got 1 minute till we sign off on shortwave. I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. This is Amateur Radio Roundtable, ham radio. We're on WBCQ. You're listening on 7490. And we're about to go off the air. Join us on Tuesdays. Just go to YouTube and put in W5KUB at 0200 UTC. You can join the show live. That would be 9 o'clock p.m. Tuesdays Eastern time. So thanks to everybody out there tuned in tonight on shortwave, and thanks to everybody. And we've got some new people in the chat room there, first timers. Hey, Richard, I think N9 DPR, thanks so much for being with us. VE3ORK. And there's been several others. Sorry if I missed your name, but we thank you. Good night to everybody. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we're going to go ahead and end the webcast now. But Bill.